So far, we've been working on solidifying our access to the target. We managed to get multiple shells, we reset the root password, we got SSH access, and we made sure that if for whatever reason one of our shells get terminated or we lose access for one reason or another, we can still get back into the system without having to re-exploit it. So now that we have achieved some kind of persistence in our hack, we want to get back to the mission at hand, and that is compromising the MySQL database in the hope that it will contain the credit card information that we are after. Now, if you remember when I ran the netstat, we saw that there is a MySQL server listening on my target machine. So let me try and log in. And the first attempt that I'm going to do is I'm trying to log in using the root user without any password. Because more often than not, this is the case. Usually the system administrator or the database administrator will assume that because this is only a locally listening service, it is okay to leave it unprotected without a password. Because they would assume that nobody will be able to access it remotely. Because it's a local service, you will need access to the system first, and then from the system itself, you will be able to access the MySQL database. So they would assume that this isn't possible. However, we managed to circumvent this assumption and we broke into the system as a root user. So now we have access to the local service. So I'm going to try to connect to it using the root username, and I'm going to leave the password as blank. I'm not going to enter a password, I'll just hit enter, and unfortunately, I get an access denied error. So it looks like the system admin did protect the MySQL service with a password. Now remember that we previously reset the root password, and that might have been a hasty decision. And I say that because, as we're going to be seeing in this video, we're going to attempt to crack the passwords of the different users. And should we have been able to crack the password of the root user, it might have been the same password for the MySQL database. Now, because I've created this challenge for you, I know it's not. However, I'm walking you through what could be a real-life scenario. Because we've all been guilty in password reuse. As a matter of fact, some of the highest profile hacks that happened because of password reuse. And password reuse is when you choose a password for one of your accounts. Let's take the example of emails, for example. So you choose a password for your Gmail and you use the same password for your Hotmail and you use the same password for your Facebook and Twitter and so on. So if somebody was able to get hold of one of your passwords, they will be able to access all your different accounts. And this is what we call a password reuse attack. In real life, it's not uncommon for people to reuse their passwords. So we could have assumed that the system admin here has chosen a password for the root user and it's the same password that's being used to log into the MySQL database. Now again, because I set this challenge up, I know that's not the case. I'm only raising this as a point so that you can keep it in mind when you break into a system. One of the things that we talked about in post-exploitation is to go after the password hashes and try to crack the passwords. And this is why. So we know it's not the root password, we know it's not a blank password. Let's see if it is one of the other users' passwords that might have been used to protect the MySQL service. And to crack the passwords, I need to do two things. I need to grab the password file, which we know by now is under the /etc/password. So I'm just going to cat this file. And notice here, these two users. There's the MySQL user, and towards the end, you see the /bin/false. This means that the MySQL user does not have a shell set for it. So even if it has a password and I manage to crack it, I will not be able to use this username to log in remotely because it doesn't have a shell. However, if you look at the other user that is called webdev, it does have /bin/bash towards the end. So if somehow I'm able to guess or crack the webdev user's password, I will be able to use this to log in remotely using SSH. So I'll copy this file and on my Kali, I'm going to paste it into a text document. And I'll save it under the Metasploitable2 directory, and I'm just going to call it password. Now the second step that I need to do is that I need to get hold of the shadow file. And the shadow file is where I have the encrypted passwords. Now, of course, for me to be able to get that file, I need to be root, which luckily I already am. So I'm going to cat this file, and then I'm going to copy it, In a text file, I'm going to save it and I'm going to call it shadow. Now let me go to another terminal on my Kali and I'll cd into the Metasploitable directory. Now to crack the passwords, I'm going to be using a tool called John the Ripper. However, John the Ripper requires the files with the password hashes to be of a certain format. And the format is going to be a combination of the password and the shadow file that we just saved. Now to combine them together, I use a command called unshadow. So I'll do unshadow, the password file, and the shadow file. And I'm going to redirect the output into a file called 2-crack. If I cat the file, you'll see that both files have been now combined into one file. So now I can use John the Ripper to attempt and crack these passwords. And to do that, it's as simple as typing John and the name of the file, which is 2-crack. You'll see here that John finishes very quickly and I get a message that says no password hashes left to crack. And this is because before I recorded this video, I actually ran John before and I managed to crack the password. So when the password is already cracked, John will not re-crack it again. And I've done this on purpose because this is one of the most common questions that I get. Why is John not showing me the cracked passwords? And this is because it already cracked it, and if you try to run John again on the same file, it will not re-crack the passwords. To be able to see the cracked passwords, all you have to do is type John --show and then the name of the file, which is 2-crack. And here we go. This is the username and the password of the user that was cracked. Alright, so now I have the password of the user webdev. Let me see if I can use this password to log into the MySQL server. So I'll go back to the target's terminal, I'll type MySQL -u root and -p and I'll enter the password. Unfortunately, I still get access denied. So I tried the blank password, I tried the root password that I've reset myself, and I tried the new password that I cracked, and none of these worked. What else can I do? Let's find out in the next video.